each other.
Good thing.
Because usually on Skype, we only use audio because the hope is that when we do one show per Skype, at least we're going to be doing 3 shows together in the same studio. When possible, we try to meet as much as possible.
Yes.
Except that, no, man, this unforeseen situation.
Unprecedented.
Yeah, completely unprecedented. And so now on like what is it? COVID era podcasting is yeah, it's an amazing thing.
I wonder what this generation that's being going to be born out of all of this is going to be called. Like, are they going to be the Corona kids? Are they going to be the COVIDians? What are they going to be?
It's definitely going to have something to do with that. But then on the other hand, I don't know that there was a Spanish flu generation. So
I think it just killed everybody.
That is true. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Maybe there isn't one because it freaking killed everybody.
I think if World War I didn't kill you, you came home and got killed by the Spanish flu.
That is, what a fate. Right. What a fate, isn't it? But, I was listening to one of my new friends from Podfest's podcast this week, and by the way, I've been able to do a lot of that lately. Like all of the people I've met at Podfest, that you took their cards and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna check out your podcast, but then you get back home and life goes back to normal, and you stick to the podcasts that you've listened to, and some of them you check out, but not subscribing or anything like that. So lately I've been doing a lot of, let me check out what this person's podcast is about. And so this week I was listening to Carry On Friends. I think you may have seen that I did a little repost on our Instagram page. And it was a beautiful episode. But one of the things I remember the ladies talking about was how now instead of AD and BC, we we talk about BC is before COVID. We no longer have a Christian era, like before COVID and after COVID.
After COVID, yeah.
That could well be the way we'll be referring to this epoch in our life.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. I don't know what a return to quote unquote normal is going to look like.
Yeah, that's one thing. I if we go back to normal, that means we've learned nothing from this, have we?
Exactly.
So
we're going to go back to normal.
Oh, man, you have very little faith in this whole thing.
I have no faith in humanity. None.
Zero. I'd like you can only hope, but I'm with you. I'm with you. I think we are, animals change their behavior immediately when something traumatic happens, and eventually they even start to physically evolve to new territories, new habits, and the whole thing. But so let's say, for instance, one of the things that became a thing during the Spanish flu was people started to adhere to what was new hygiene practices, right? The whole idea of, yeah, you should wash your hands after you come out of the commode.
Yes.
That was like literally a new thing to most people, right? And this wasn't a thing of educated people versus non-educated people, and so in the idea of whether you or not you have running water, you should at least take one shower a day. In the whole thing of like every 7 day, take a bath.
Sunday night, everybody gets in the same tub and it goes
Yeah.
from biggest to smallest, and the last one gets the filthiest water.
Amazing thing, right? And so, but the idea is we kind of got fancier with all of this, but we didn't kind of evolve with it, did we? Like, some things got better, but as a species, we still find ourselves, doing practices that gets us to have pandemics like this, because these things happen because we fuck up, doesn't?
Yep.
So
I was reading an article. It was about San Francisco during the Spanish pandemic, the Spanish flu, and there was a group in San Francisco in 1918 that marched for the right to not wear masks. And they started a whole, something like Americans Against Masks Society or something like that.
Kidding me?
No, this is 1918. It's been well documented. And it's eerie how much history repeating itself.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is, so they were very much against masking because that was something that towards the end of the Spanish flu, they were realizing that would help, to keep the spread of germs down. Masking would.
Yeah.
These people were very much against it. San Francisco ended up with one of the highest death rates in the country.
And perhaps we see this whole thing happening again because, to be honest, I know more now about the Spanish flu because of this pandemic. I think one of our biggest problems is the fact that we don't keep up with history, do we?
No, especially, and I mean, obviously I can't speak to other countries, but I don't think American history I think American history classes are pretty lacking. So, I mean, this was far enough away that you couldn't really talk to somebody that had lived through the Spanish flu. Like, nobody has a grandparent typically right now that they could say, oh, I lived through it and I remembered it. Like my grandparents on my mom's side and on my father's side were definitely old enough.
Yeah.
But I certainly never thought to talk to them about it, like.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that, again, going back on how history is repeating itself, is that there was a concerted effort back in 1918 to sort of not talk about the Spanish flu, right? Like, because World War I was more important, and you couldn't talk about a pandemic when you were fighting a war because that wouldn't be good for morale, right?
Right.
And so what ended up happening is that freaking half the world died more of the goddamn pandemic than the war in itself, right?
Yes.
But then the same thing is happening here, except that, a lot of other countries wised up and said, yo, we're going to take measures and we're going to do our thing. And they were able to stop it. But then now we I think we'll reach 1 million by next week in the United States.
Yeah. And the testing isn't, like you said, the idea of getting information out there. I mean, that's tantamount is getting testing, get everybody tested. So we know who has it and who doesn't have it. And that's just not happening. And then you have countries like China where you can't trust the numbers they put out at all. And
exactly.
I just read, didn't either WHO or the CDC removed China's numbers because they said they're so unreliable. They're just not going to count them at all. Yes,
they're not taking any information because both in China and in Russia, you're having a catastrophic number of pneumonia reported. It's like pneumonia. Yeah, so that's what we're going to go with, huh? uh, it's amazing, but yeah, disinformation is more of a thing than the truth, and I think what we need is, like in the United States, 326 million people, more or less, and we've only had what, 4 million people tested.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, we're nearing 1 million people with the disease, but that's based on what we have tested.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what's the real number? Who knows, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have the scary thing too, where it's, the states and the country and everything wants to open back up.
Yeah.
But you have the scary thing of young people who've had this are suddenly having more strokes, and they don't know why.
Yes.
There's no guarantee that the people who've had it are immune. They haven't been able to prove that yet, that the people who have already had it have developed an immunity for it. From what I understand from the WHO and from the CDC, they have not been able to definitively prove that having this means you are immune to it.
We see more people that have had it getting a second round of it. So
yeah, and that's and
it's impossible to know whether it's a different strain or whether it's the same goddamn thing. So
true.
It's so. But you know what? Forget about this. Tell me, how have you been?
I've been good. Let's see. I haven't drunk any bleach. I haven't drunk any Fabuloso. I have plenty of Tide Pods, but I'm not tempted to eat them. So I'm doing well, I think.
But can I tell you something about Fabuloso, though? Is that they have to stop putting such enticing colors.
Oh, God. Fabuloso looks delicious.
Jesus. I've been tempted. After he said that shit, I know it's wrong, but I'm tempted.
Yes.
Yep. And I think that was the same thing with Tide Pod, isn't it? That they have these. Pretty. They're pretty. So one thing I know you've been doing is a lot of reading lately. Every time, pretty much, we text, you tell me, I'm here reading with the dogs and whatever. But like, what you've been reading lately?
Oh, let's see. I should have prepared a list better because my memory is so bad. Oh God, it's so bad. There's an author I really like. Her name is Lauren Groff, and I first read a book of hers. It's probably been 20 years ago now, called The Monsters of Templeton, and it was her first book, and I was blown away by this novel. And so I've gotten behind with her. I like to I kind of like grab a hold of an author and will read everything that they've written. So I've gotten behind with her. So I've gotten caught up to her most recent book. I believe it's her most recent book called Florida, which is, it's very interesting. It's a bunch of essays about Floridians and being a woman in this world and the current climate, if you will, of this world. And
is she the one who, by the way, started the hashtag Because Florida?
I don't know. It's possible.
something hashtag Because Florida.
Because Florida, yeah, Florida man. Yeah.
All right. That's I can tell you that I've not been reading at all. Like, because I'm 1 week here, 1 week at work, because that's because pandemic, right?
Right.
But I've been telling you how much work I've been doing around. Like, I'm surprised at how voluntarily I do these things now. I never did any of this before my wife got like really angry at me. Like, if she asked nicely for 1 month, like, I'd be like, yeah, I'll get to it. Until then, bam, she gets angry, and I'm like, yeah, I better get to it. Now she just asks maybe once, twice, maybe by the third time, I'm already on it, so, so I've done a lot of stuff, man. And,
The last pictures I saw, everything looked great in the backyard. So
yeah, it's coming along pretty well. And we actually talked about how early we are with those things, because usually we right around, like the inaugural of the backyard is right around Memorial Day, usually,
yeah,
because that's when we get around to it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Now it's pretty much done, and
And the weather's been so beautiful.
isn't it?
Like the prettiest spring I've ever seen here.
Isn't it amazing? It's like somebody's really having fun with this. Hey,
Yeah.
you can't go out and enjoy it, but it's gonna be pretty. That's amazing. That's amazing. But I've been also watching, obviously, a lot of. I've been doing a lot of streaming, because if we don't normally watch regular TV, this is literally not a great time to be watching regular TV either, because all they know what to talk about is this damn thing, and it gets tiring, right? Of course, we have to stay informed, but there's no need to have 24/7 talk about it. So
No, that'll make you crazy.
yeah, it depresses you. You're like,
Yes.
oh Lord, we're gonna die. Jesus.
We're all gonna die. We are all going to die, especially if you listen to some certain yellow people.
Yeah, Mr. Turmeric. That was the best description I've had. Dr. Turmeric.
That's good. I like that.
Well, so what I've been watching is that I've gotten into all of these British game shows.
Oh, very cool.
Yo, game show after game show. I've watched 18 seasons of different game shows. And one of my favorites is Insert Name Here.
I've heard of that one. I haven't watched it. I've heard of that one.
It is awesome. It's really great. I think there's only right now 2 seasons available of it. So 2016, 2017 seasons are available. And they're 6 to 8 episodes. But, it gives you a lot of idea when you have a podcast like Kicking and Streaming. Game shows kind of keep you on your toes, because there's a lot of information you discover. Sure. So that's been a new thing for me. Are you watching anything new?
What did I watch most recently? I'm thinking.
I'm watching. I started binge watching Lucifer now.
Yes. What do you think of Lucifer?
Lucifer is actually dope. Dope. I like everything about it, and I think we probably will have to do a show about Lucifer.
It's good. It really is. And it's
Yes.
surprisingly good, I think is the way to describe it. I really expected it to be dopey stupid, and I only started watching it as something to laugh at, and then ended up getting hooked on it.
But then the craziest thing for me is all of the philosophical connotations, yes. Both in theological sense that no one probably never thought about from that perspective, and also from a Freudian perspective. I like the idea that there's a mother. Yes. That all of these Oedipus kind of theories floating out there, it is absolutely, it's a deeper and more profound show than I expected it to be, and I'm really pleasantly surprised. Why didn't you tell me about the show before, Justin? Jesus.
Yeah, I've been totally silent about Lucifer.
I know, right?
Sorry about that, man. Totally dropped the ball.
How dare you?
How dare I?
Yeah, but it's been dope. I can't get enough of it, and I'm glad that Netflix picked it up. You know, I'm glad Netflix picked it up. I wonder though, is there any truth to the fact that ABC kind of got rid of it because of like right wing protests and stuff like that?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's possible, I suppose, but I don't know because network television is just generally so driven by if it makes money or not. But that's typically the only concern they have. So, but maybe there was advertisers saying, "Oh, we're not going to advertise on this show. We're going to back out because of the protests." So that could have caused it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because all of these shows that have a lot to think about, a lot to ponder, a lot of help to ask questions are somehow getting canceled
Yeah.
in
The OA.
the OA, exactly. I mean, Netflix will never admit how much they fucked up on this one,
They did.
but it's bad. And so you pick up a show like Lucifer that was probably a bit too much for terrestrial TV, and I agree with that. And then, but you cancel the OA, which is a show that is perfect for streaming service.
Yeah. And they have the money to be paying for it because they're throwing money at projects left and right. So it's not like they haven't got to go.
So, have you gotten to Little Fires Everywhere? I have not either. So I'm going to start this week. I'm going to start this week because it's definitely our next topic. And
I've been like rewatching things, like things I've already watched. I think it's a comfort level thing. Like, oh, I remember watching this and it made me feel good, so I'm going to watch it. And I've been watching like really short things. So yeah, but okay, next week I'm going to do it.
No, but like seriously, you're right though. That's what I've been doing too. Like the other night, right? It was Friday night. I normally watch one movie on Friday night because whatever, Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ended up watching 3 movies. And next thing I knew, it was 5 a.m. And there were movies that I've seen.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's got to be something about, this reminds me of a time,
Right. Things were normal then, or I was happy then. Or
what have you found yourself rewatching like?
Well, let's see. What have I rewatched? I rewatched The Rocketeer, which is like an old Disney movie. It's on Disney Plus. It's from the 90s. I had a crush on the main character at the time. So let's see, what else have I been watching? It's mostly been movies. It's been like I rewatched part of, and this isn't a movie, but I rewatched part of The Mandalorian. Disney Plus. So I don't know. It's just one of those things.
This is a good time for Jocelyn to actually catch up with the rest of the world by watching Game of Thrones. But I ain't gonna say anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just,
Game of Thrones, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, The Crown.
Yes. I'm just, but I'm just thinking out loud. Except that Jocelyn is on the other side listening to.
Oh, God. I don't know.
But yeah, so the other night I watched Now You See Me Too. It was like, I saw this one time, but let's just watch another crappy movie. So I did that, and then I went and watched Creed 2. It was like the number 2 movies of every franchise for me that night. And after that, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and watch A Few Good Men.
Ah, yes.
Because, and I realized actually that although I knew a lot about A Few Good Men, what it was about and who was in it and everything. I don't remember ever watching the movie completely.
Mhm.
So, I knew about the You Can Handle the Truth thing and the whole thing and what it was about. But there's either I never sat down ever to watch the whole thing, or whenever I watched it a few years ago on TV, there was so many commercials that I don't even freaking remember what. Because you remember those times when like TBS used to play the same movie like pretty much every weekend. The one time it was Dumb and Dumber, and they played it for like 6 months every weekend. But they would like put like 18 commercials on every commercial pause that you would like completely forget the sequence of the movie.
Yeah, you get like 2 minutes of movie and then 12 minutes of commercials. Yes. On your back, you're like, wait, what
was this again?
Was this movie about diapers? I can't remember.
So I think that's why I didn't remember much about that movie. It was a good thing to stream it, but it cost me a night of sleep. Cost me a night of sleep. So, but I am happy to see you. I underestimated the length of time that we would not be in studio together, and
sucks.
I kept thinking, maybe in the next 2 weeks or 3, 1 more week or whatever. But I just was thinking this week, and when you posted the thing about the hair and stuff, and I'm like, I haven't seen Jocelyn in a long time. Yeah, look at you with hair. Yeah, look at here. Hey, it's back. So I'm like, this time we have to have the camera and see each other and look, dude. I know we talk on we text on a daily basis, and doing the podcast, we talk on a weekly basis, but bloody hell, I miss you.
I miss you too. I miss you too. When this is all over, we're gonna have to have a come to Jocelyn, come to Graham meeting.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, if we can keep things under 10, and I don't know that between you and I, we know 10 people. So,
this is true. I may know 10 people, but not 10 people I want to spend any time with.
Exactly. So, of course, all 4 dogs of ours, well, no, 5, because I forgot that I have a bloody puppy now.
Yes, who's probably 12 times the size he was when I last saw him.
Oh yeah, he's about 45 pounds now.
Wow.
He's growing.
Yeah, you're not going to have a dog, you're going to have a horse.
Yes. Charlie is like a pony already.
Yeah.
So, and this one is going to be taller than Charlie and as big as Charlie, so we're going to have quite a dog.
You have a horse and a pony.
Yeah. But you, me, Jeffrey, Christine, Jamal, we definitely have to have a post-COVID-19 meetup, have something to drink and have some burgers and good stuff.
Yes. Sounds wonderful.
And that's probably the hope that will help us get through this whole thing, because like we said before, we're not going to go back to normal, but we're definitely ready to resume life, as it were.
Yeah, we're ready to see the people we care about. I'm ready to see the people that I care about.
That's the line. My favorite line out of the Queen's speech was, we will meet again. We will be together again.
Yeah.
There was so much hope in that for me, and it's amazing that it had to come from the Queen of England and from the President of the United States. But We'll take
And
what
the
we can at this point.
94-year-old lady too, you know?
Yeah.
She's 94 years old and she is more inspiring and more with it than,
God. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So see, but the thing is that at least Great Britain has, if they have a prime minister who's a knob, at least they can count on a monarch that has their back emotionally.
Yes.
Here we don't have that, man. We have a fucking moron, and that's it.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah. God, we got shit. Like, it's amazing how people react whenever Obama posts something. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, we miss you, Obama." Oh God!
To string a sentence together coherently and with empathy and intelligence.
Yeah, people will be like, "I don't live in New York, but I watch Governor Cuomo's shit every week, every day." The conferences that he gets, like, it's amazing. It's amazing. They just want a leader that can put together an amount of sentences that make fucking sense and go here. So we'll with hope, and we'll do what we can.
Yes.
And the studios will be here, and one day we will be here.
Yeah? Yes. We shall meet again.
We shall meet again. It was good to see you, and it was good to have this little chat, Jojo.
Yes.
And thank you for allowing, the idea that we make our listeners a part of this, because this could have well been a phone call or a Zoom meeting between the two of us as friends, but it's a way to, to let people know that we're going through these and we all going through it together. Yeah. Even though we still bring a show to them every week, yeah, it's getting to us.
Yep.
All right then. So we'll stay in touch, of course, and we'll talk throughout the week, and we'll be recording again soon.
Yes.
I'll just take care. Bye now. Ciao.
Bye.
How do you end this? Oh, end meeting. Okay.